Thank y'all for coming out tonight in this storm and Dorian and all of that. And
So you've got the two questions there, and then when we open it up to questions, if you'll repeat the question that someone asked you from the floor.
okay,
All right.
thank you. Thank you all for coming. The first question, what new skill or knowledge have you learned in the last couple of years? How has your ministry changed over time? I have learned that you can do anything, but you can't do everything. And so my focus has been not forgetting something, but focusing on what I like to call the legacy consequential. In other words, things that will affect generations even yet to come. And we've challenged our congregation to be people of consequence. And that means that when you have done all that you can do and you've lived your last breath, that people are thankful and grateful that you were there, that you made a difference in the world, and the world is a better place, a more wonderful place, because you have been there. And so it doesn't mean that we don't do a little bit of everything, but it means that our focus is more on those things that we consider to be consequential. The other part of that is that it has enabled us to have impactful ministries that perhaps if we were doing a little bit of this and a little bit of that, we couldn't do. It's easy as clergy, because there are a lot of calls and a lot of pulls on your time. It's easy to be really busy and not effective. And so what focusing on this legacy, consequential type of thing does, it helps us to do those things that are meaningful and those things that have impact for the long term. The second question is, how will you address the lack of clergy available for parishes, especially small parishes? If you have not heard, Virginia Theological Seminary now, if you are a student, you can attend for room, board, books, and tuition free. If you are from an underserved community, you can also receive a stipend. And so what I would like to do is to increase the number of clergy that are going through the ordination process. There are some bishops that call the dean and say to the graduating class, "Dean, I want to come and I want to recruit 5 people for the ordained ministry." And they come to campus and they interview and they hire 5 people. Well, a lot of dioceses, and I'm going to talk about how we got to this point of clergy shortage in the first place and another demographic to tap within that. What really has happened is that many individuals, bishops, some bishops had the idea of a kind of moratorium. They looked around their diocese and said that we don't have, as I see, any upcoming churches that are going to need clergy, or particular types of churches that are going to need clergy, so we don't need to send anybody to seminary. Other bishops had the idea, and this is the idea that I embrace, that you ordain and train people for the whole church, and that you are getting people in ministry, training them, and retaining them. The other demographic that I would like to do is to lower the age of clergy. Nothing against our older clergy, I think it's wonderful experience. But if you lower that demographic age, you will find out that some of the younger clergy are able or willing to go to places maybe that are older clergy with a larger family or at a point in their career are not willing to go to. Well, you say, well, how are you going to pay for that? I think this diocese needs a full-time development officer, someone that is raising funds outside of church assessments and things like that from individuals and others within that would pay for this kind of ministry fund to take care of clergy in their workplaces, and maybe they would also help with clergy insurance, also with clergy pensions, and those sorts of things that sometimes make it difficult to get a clergy to a place because they can't afford to go there. I don't know if you know this, but the church pension fund has recalibrated how they do pensions. This new generation, X or the millennials or XYZ or whatever, they're going to go to seminary and graduate, and they're going to serve at church for 5 or 6 years, not everyone, but many of them. And then they're going to go off into arts or sciences or business for 7, 8 years, and then they're going to come back into the church. It used to be that was impossible to do because the way the church pension fund was set up, and it would really mess up so you could not get any pension at all. They've recalibrated that by addressing the reality of the new normal. And that is the new normal. And so if we did the funding and fundraising to be able to help churches in something that you could call a bishop's missionary fund or a bishop's parish procurement fund, it would give those churches that needed a little help or a little boost the opportunity to be able to pay clergy and attract them and retain them. Also, if you have read my questions and answers, I want to bring back something called the Nag's Head Clergy Family Gathering. We used to go to Nag's Head right after Mother's Day the following weekend, and we would stay Sunday night, Monday night, and Tuesday night. Churches were encouraged to pay for it, and if they couldn't pay for it, there was funding for that, and most churches paid for it. And clergy got to know each other, to build relationships, to build bonds, to really get to know each other outside of clergy conference and council. And so it's not just recruiting, ordaining, but it's retaining. And so you give a kind of environment where a person could be enhanced in their ministry and where they could also be able to grow. And so this diocese, which is one of the most beautiful geographically in the country, a person could come here and spend their career. They may go into one place or another, and they may serve there, but not have to leave this diocese. They could go somewhere else, and it's already happening. And so that would be my way to begin addressing this problem. And you say, well, what kind of dent would it make if you ordained 5 people a year? In 10 years, you'd have ordained 50 people. And I think the rate of retention now, I think there is one person graduating from seminary and being ordained and 2 to 3 people retiring. And you can see the numbers that are there that are impending upon us. I think we're now open for open questions. No questions?
Not a question.
Yes.
Just an affirmation of those years
Yes.
of clergy families
Yes.
brought together.
Yes.
Not children, well, children could attend.
Yep.
That's how in my 40-some years, I got to know most of the clergy in the diocese.
Right.
As compatriots together,
Right.
friends,
Right.
but a lot of work came out of that.
Yep.
That developmental work,
Absolutely. And connections.
and it is gone.
Right.
It's like we all live on a subway.
Right. And we also used to do something I love to bring back called Shrine Month. I don't know how many of you all did Shrine Month, but it's actually in the Diocese of Virginia in Oakney Springs. Our church, Grace Church, literally took over a house, and the program was really sort of loosely structured, that in the mornings you'd have breakfast and worship, and then you could go off during the day and fish or do sports or hike or do nothing at all. Then you come back in the evening for dinner and worship. And I mean, it was a wonderful, wonderful thing. And those are the kind of things I think that build relationships and build cohesion and build the kind of diocese where individuals want to come and be a part of, because I would love for Southern Virginia, among clergy and laity, to be a destination diocese where people in seminary, particularly vocations, we're doing vocations, and we want to go and live in the Diocese of Southern Virginia. Other questions? Yes, sir.
So I've asked this question to a couple of the other candidates as well, but what would you say to the young person in college who is discerning their vocation? What would you say to them, and how whether in ordained or lay ministry?
I had a young woman who many of you know, that's an excellent question, by the way. I had a young woman, many of you know, her name is Marcia Price. She did a year's internship at our church. She actually was a member of St. Augustine's in Newport News under the Reverend Terry Edwards, one of my people I was blessed to sponsor for the priesthood in this diocese. She was a great preacher, a great leader. She went through the process and, to my dismay, decided that I don't want to be ordained. She is now a member of the House of Delegates in the legislature of Virginia and doing a wonderful job representing Newport News, still active in St. Augustine's Newport News in a number of ways, but Marcia Price is an example of that. Virginia Seminary also has, I'm pushing Virginia Seminary, not just because I'm an alumnus or board member, but it's a good place. For 1 year you can go for free room, board, books, and tuition to explore that. And what I think we need to be doing is encouraging vocations and encouraging people to do ministry, because it's a wonderful vocation, avocation in life to be. So I would encourage that, and I hope you look into that if you're interested.